and tell stories, little simple stories about my life.
Mhm. Yeah.
Jumping rope,
Double Dutch. I
Double
used to do
Dutch.
that. Yeah.
Chinese rope, where
Yeah.
you took a bunch of rubber
That's
bands
right.
and put them on your ankles
I
and
remember. Did that. I did that too.
running and jumping. I used to love to run. Was that you that said you love to run also?
Oh no. Well, when I was a kid, I did, but later on.
Well, yeah, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
not no.
No. Later on, forget it. You can go on. Yeah.
Okay.
You have
Riding
like
bikes.
about 2 minutes anyway, so I just wanted to make sure that we're okay streaming here.
Which one was first, Kathy?
I'm gonna introduce myself and
You can wait,
first.
yeah. Wait about another minute
You
or
can't
two.
tell the difference after dark.
Yeah, wait about a minute or two.
Okay.
Okay.
But you're not gonna play yet. I'll give you the signal.
Okay. Do you want to control that?
Hmm?
Do you want to control that?
I can't hear you.
Did you want an intro? Can't tell the difference?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
This is my very first time.
This will be fun to do this.
So there's just one person difference, right?
You mean coming in?
There's the verse. There's only one verse, right? Or the two verses. You can't tell the difference.
That's the bridge. That is it. The verse. Okay, so it's the intro, and then it's the verse, and then it's a bridge. It's a bridge. I'm
Yeah.
nervous, so
Yeah.
whatever
Okay.
way it's gonna be now.
Yep.
Okay, you can go on now.
Good afternoon. Hi, everybody out there, Facebook Live. My name is Katherine Davis.
A little
and
closer to the mic.
hello, everybody out there in Facebook Live, on Facebook Live. My name is Katherine Davis, and I'm here this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us right here at the New Rhythms Art Center. And Alicia Hinckley is the founder and director of the New Rhythms Art Center, and I'm saying thank you to her for giving me the opportunity to do this. I'd like to give credit to just say thank you very much to our Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and Department of Cultural Affairs, GKs. The reason I'm saying thank you so much because they've been very supportive to me and my programs, my music programs. I was recently awarded the Chicago Esteemed Artist Award. I'm not going to say how much, but I'm one of the 12 recipients. That pretty nice, a really good award where I can do a lot of things, a lot of projects, working with music and the performing arts. So I have a few projects that I'm working on, which is what I'm going to read for you today. I pulled a book out of my own private library on Rainey and the classic blues singers. I wanted to read from out of that book because it has a lot of valuable information about, well, from the author. The author is Derek Stewart Baxter, and this book was published in 1970. An old book, and you can see I've worked out of this book a lot because I love classic blues. I love singing classic blues. I love recognizing classic blues singers. I'm going to sing a few songs, to include in my readings. And I have Tony Milano on keyboard with me this afternoon. Give him a big round of applause. He's one of my favorites. I've been knowing Tony for very long. We don't have to go that far back, right, Tony?
Right.
But you see, he's a young man, so. Anyway, let's see, what else I'm going to say about, we're going to try to keep this going with reading, because reading is very valuable, always have been, and reading from within my own library of books, I find that there's so much valuable information about, this country. And there's a lot of things that are missing in our country, mainly our history. So I figured that the more we read, the more we have a better understanding about how this country was put together and the people who contributed to this country in making this country become, so powerful. And so music is one of the great powers of this country. From once I start, doing readings, then you can do them consistently, like, I don't know, once a week, twice a week, we don't know, because this is our first time. Hopefully we can keep this going, and this is one of my many projects. My other project is I've been working with musicians and singers to put out some original songs. That's another one of my dreams come true that I've been wanting to do, putting out writing original songs and bringing them out of the mind, and bring them out so that everybody can hear them. So Tony is working with me on this project as well. And then we have, of course, we have the rehearsals and all that, and going into the studio and stuff. Also, there's another project that I'm working on with the schools, because I do teach blues in the schools, which is now, I've changed my name to Katherine Davis and Blues for Youth program, which we reach out to children and teach them about our history through the blues. And from that, there's a lot of great things that come from there, because our children learn about their history, and they learn about history. They learn about the history that's within their family. They learn who are the entertainers in their family, and then also they'll perform, they'll sing, they'll learn an instrument from professional musicians, and then perform in front of a live audience. So I've been teaching blues in the school and blues for youth now for more than 2 decades. So that says something real powerful. But I want to show how important it is about blues women, because blues women are the ones who I feel are the ones in the entertainment business that get overlooked, or that are overlooked. So from this book, Rainey, Classic Blues Singers, I was reading from out of where it says at the beginning towards a definition. It says that Ma Rainey, Bessie Smith, Clara Smith, which is no relation to Bessie Smith, Bertha Chippy Hill, Sippy Wallace, Lucille Hageman, Rosa Henderson, and of course Victoria Spivey. There were many others that were the so-called trendsetters during the early 20s, and that it says the Observer color supplement, which it gave a much needed boost to neglected ladies, and made the point that at their best the classic blues represent that fragile but precious moment in developing art form when feeling and technique are in perfect accord. And in Bessie Smith, at times provided the necessary genius to give that moment concrete expression. Now, these women that I named are all women who of the early 20s, 30s. Most of them were born before the 20th century. They were, many of them came up in church, and many of them came up in broken homes, and many of them were performers very young, and they traveled from the south to the north. And they also they traveled with the migrants after slavery was abolished. These performers traveled with the migrants to from the north to the bigger cities, which Chicago was one of the major cities. And so from that you had singers, dancers, musicians, contortionists, comedians, all traveling together in troops. And of course you know about vaudeville, the vaudeville period of where these young artists were performing, traveling, and performing for big audiences, large audiences. Now, Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith, they traveled, but they were mainly performing in the South, down south, and they were performing. I'm going to read about Ma Rainey, Gertrude Pritchett, who is noted as the mother of the blues, the classic blues, Southern style. In 1923, two women, Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith, were responsible for a change of taste among that section of the black population who were buying blues-based records. This change was not produced in an instant, but took place over a number of years. As we have seen, until the advent of Rainey and Smith, the accent had been on the smooth, refined sophistication of Lucille Hegeman and Edith Wilson, plus the imitators who cashed in on their popularity, even to the extent of making covers of their songs for rival companies. With Ma Rainey came the sounds of the South, the blues of the field workers, or their later derivatives, the songs of the wandering musician, and the ballads of the tent and minstrel shows. This is what Ma Rainey offered on her records. She and Bessie were responsible for the great change that was to take place. It came slowly at first, but with increasing speed in later years. Although Bessie Smith preceded her in the studio by a few months, it was the older woman who was the most important at the outset. In this chapter, we must attempt to penetrate the world in which these women lived and endeavor to trace their musical lives. The history of the blues is surrounded by myth and legend, for collectors in the main are incurable romantics, although few will admit this fact. This romanticism encourages the birth of fables and fairy stories. Undoubtedly, this makes for colorful writing, but it does not help the earnest researcher to reach the truth. Even now, after many years of painstaking detective work by dedicated men, the complete and accurate story of Ma Rainey has yet to be told. There are many gaps to be filled, and we can but hope that it is not too late. With the available data, writers and critics can only speculate and resort to inspired guesses. Investigation into the background of these artists, the tent shows, the black variety circuit, such as TOBA, is long overdue. But it is unlikely that we shall ever know the full story of this most fascinating side of the musical scene. The writer and critic, Charles Edward Smith, has done invaluable work. In fact, the greater part of Rainey's story that has been printed in magazine articles and on the back of LP sleeves has come from Mr. Smith's continual probing into the past. Seldom has he received acknowledgement from those who have used his material. Unlike pop, music, jazz, and blues, the two cannot be separated. It is a very personal art. Therefore, it follows that the more we know about its practitioners, the better we will understand their music. The pop star, on the other hand, is more often than not merely a robot, turning off and on, rushing to embrace each new gimmick as it appears, and as what he sings or what they sing is ephemeral. Ephemeral.
Mhm.
Oh, I should have known that word. And trivial. He reflects nothing but a useless void. The blues singer is entirely different, for they're very much involved with what he or she is doing. And the music that they make and sing is unconsciously molded to their own way of living and feeling. That's true. This involvement is a genuine and basic part of the music. So to learn something about the background of these artists is important. Although Ma Rainey's history is somewhat short in detail, we can obtain some idea as to her personality and her influence on those who followed her. The facts are these. Gertrude Pritchett Rainey was a Georgia woman, and she was born on April 26, 1886 in Columbus, Georgia. Her early years were uneventful, very much like any other little black girl of her class. Her father, Thomas Pritchett, and her mother, Ella Allen, came originally from Alabama and moved to Columbus before she was born. One of her grandmothers was on the stage in the years after emancipation, and it is probably from her that the young girl inherited her love and talent for show business. There was another daughter, Melissa, and a brother, Tom Pritchett Jr. Rumor also has it that Tom and Ella had two other children of whom no details are forthcoming. But as they do not seem to have some connected in any way with the stage, they do not enter into the story. Gertrude's interest and passion for the theater developed early in her life. By 1900, she had made her debut in the local opera house in a talent show called The Bunch of Blackberries. No newspaper reviews of this production had been traced, so we have no idea of what she did or how she fared. Presumably, she did well enough and was encouraged to proceed with her chosen career. The next 4 years of her life, in 1904, when she, it says, so the next date of note is February 2nd, 1904, when she married another performer, William Pa Rainey, and for many years they had their own song and dance routine in various minstrel shows. All over the South she traveled, and her fame among her race was almost legendary. For many years she was with the celebrated Rabbit-Foot Minstrels. She must have looked an impressive sight. This squat, rather heavy-featured woman, dressed in an imposing gown, covered with sequins which sparkled and shone in the kerosene footlights. Her necklace and earrings, medallions fashioned from gold coins. She was usually accompanied by a jug band. They were very popular at that time too. Or a more orthodox jazz band consisting of 5 or 6 musicians. From all accounts, hers was not a big voice. It was at times harsh. Let's go back. From all accounts, her voice was not a big voice. It was at times harsh, but it was ideally suited to her simple songs of everyday life and her driving down home blues. Let's go with C.C. Ryder, Tony. C.C. Ryder. This song was written or recorded, let's see, Ma Rainey, she made her first 8 recordings in Chicago, 1899 to 1933. And she performed on the Paramount, Black Swan, Yazoo, and Document Records. C.C. Ryder, she recorded in 1924. Let's do C.C. Ryder. Here we go. One. All right, everybody, put your hands together and help me. Give us some energy out there, Facebook Live. Come on now. Let's enjoy ourselves this afternoon, Sunday. I said, see Ryder, see what you done rider, see what you done. You made me love you, now your other woman come. Well, see rider, where you lay your head last night. See rider, oh, where you lay your head last night, where your shoes ain't tied and your clothes ain't fit you right. Oh, see rider, see what you done. See rider, see what you done. Well, you made me love you, baby, now your other woman come. Tony, get you some. Move on down the line. Yeah. Pack up my suitcase. Move on down the line. Ain't nobody worried. Ain't nobody crying. See rider, see what you done. See rider, see what you done. You made me love you, see rider, now your other woman come. See rider, see rider, see rider, see what you done. Love you, and now your other woman come. Why you do that? Well, you in trouble now. All right, Tony Milano. Hey. Yes, indeed. So we talked about Miss Ma Rainey and some of the things, other places where she performed. She, let's see, I'm sorry. I had left off where she was with the celebrated Rabbitfoot Minstrels, and she was looking impressive and everything. So, and wearing her medallions of gold coins, she was accompanied by different bands and everything. She remained with the Tolliver Circus for 2 years, and that was 1914 and 1916. And it may seem strange to find a blues singer working in a circus, and it would appear that many besides Ma Rainey did join the Big Top in those early days, and how and when they were used. This has also been a question that has puzzled researchers, that perhaps the following information supplied by Circus Authority Ken Lane may supply the answer. In an effort to squeeze the last dollar from the public, the management would put on what they called the after show, for which extra was charged, you know that. The band would come out from and give a musical entertainment, and it is more than possible that it was here that our singers were featured. Mr. Lane hastens to add that he can find no trace of any such artist mentioned on his numerous playbills, nor do his records tell us much. But if singers were part of the company, as we know they were, this is obviously the ideal place for them. The freak shows, which were part of the unit, were very different from the British ones. Apart from the fat lady, the giant midgets, the limbless women, or the alligator skin boy, the show had a number of acts, which could not be considered freaks at all, consisting of conjurers, Punch and Judy, conjurers, Punch and Judy, who were comedians, and sword swallowers. It was possible, though unlikely, that singers were also included. It is interesting to note that Gertrude Rainey was one of the last of the great Negro minstrel artists, and definitely one of the first to feature blues as such around 1902 on the stage. With these songs, she reached her highest peak, which lasted what? It lasted throughout what way? Which lasted throughout the 20s. Okay, so here I have, this book is old, so of course that's the picture of my Rainey, Gertrude Pritchard. She looked like a blues woman too, don't she? And then there's another picture. This is a fragile book. And then this is my Rainey with her group, the Rabbit Foot Minstrels. Yes. I wouldn't mind being there during that time, because they were really being creative. And it looked like no matter what, they were still enjoying themselves, playing and traveling together and just dealing with whatever they had to deal with. The managers for whom she worked and the productions in which she featured during her career were many and varied. Silas Green, Al Gaines, and C.W. Parks were the ones best known. I guess these are all agents. She also had her own shows, touring always in the southern states. Although when she made her records, mostly in Chicago, she would sing her blues to northern audiences. Nevertheless, her heart was in the South, where her people knew and loved her. Champion Jack Dupree, who saw her frequently, remembers her well, and he gave me this brief word picture of what it was like and to experience her performance. She was really an not so good looking woman, Jack related, but when she opened up her mouth, that was it. You forgot everything. You know how to sing those blues, and she got right into your heart. What a personality she had. What are the greatest of all singers? The Negro poet, Sterling Brown, who was lecturing at Fisk University, also recalls seeing the great singer. In a taped interview with Paul Oliver, he gave this impression. Ma Rainey was a tremendous figure. She wouldn't have to sing any words. She would moan, and the audience would moan with her. She had them in the palm of her hand. I heard Bessie Smith also, but Ma Rainey was the greatest mistress of an audience. Bessie was the greater blues singer, but Ma really knew these people. She was a person of the folk. She was very simple and direct. And that night when we saw her, she was having boy trouble. You see, she liked these young musicians. You hear that, Tony? And in comes this John Wirt and we were young to her. Let me go back over there. That night when we saw her, she was having boy trouble. You see, she liked these young musicians, and in comes John Wirt and I. So this is the guy that's saying what he saw her do. We were young to her. We were something sent down, and she didn't know which one to choose. Each of us knew we were not choosing her. We just wanted to talk. But she was interested in other things. She was that direct. She was the tops for my money. She was all right. So does that mean he gave in? I think so. She knew she was a blues queen, and like so many others who followed her, she acted the part. Ma was volcanic and spoke her mind, though underneath her apparent sternness, she was soft-hearted and generous, but she was a tigress when aroused. A picture is now beginning to emerge a picture of a woman fond of flashy jewelry and striking clothes, a warm-hearted, generous human being wrapped up in the world of theater. The vaudeville stage with its songs and the blues of her race were very much part of her. All the toughness of her life and character is there in her singing. Paramount Records, for whom she recorded, was primarily a blues label, and the blues were becoming popular and selling well to the southern folk. Therefore, all they wanted from her was blues or blues-based songs. Thus, we obtain a false impression of the range of her talent. According to reports of those who saw her and knew her well, she had many accomplishments. One of the great drawbacks when playing early records is the quality of the recording and the scratchy surfaces, which greatly hinder appreciation of the music. Luckily, many reissues of these ancient discs have been cleaned up, and with the aid of modern techniques, we are able to get a good idea of how she sounded in person. Or the 90-odd titles she made there are many gems, and few could be considered poor. Wow, she recorded 90 pieces. Recordings. Those made with Louis Armstrong are particularly fine. Tommy Latnier also cut some fine sides with Ma, and these two musicians are among the greatest of all blues companies. The three blues with Louis, counting the blues, Jelly Bean Blues, and C.C. Ryder, are all splendid examples of Rainey's style, and the youthful Armstrong, only 23 at that time, played some very sensitive cornet. C.C. Ryder, I could have waited, couldn't I? C.C. Ryder is perhaps the outstanding performance, which I already sang. I'll sing it later if you want me to. The debt she owes to vaudeville can be heard in her duets with the medicine show singer Papa Charlie Jackson, Ma and Pa's Poorhouse Blues, and Big Feelin' Blues. The former is full of back chat and music hall hokum. It is a most satisfying package of blues and humor. All the titles with Tommy Latnier can be recommended. Particularly worthy of note are Sailbound Blues, a very grim blues in which Latnier's horn combines with Jimmy O'Brien's clarinet to provide a wonderfully sympathetic backing to the voice. Latnier is most impressive on Bo Weevil Blues. His growling comments and final lead in the last chorus are most striking, and Ma obviously inspired to give of her best. Ma's last number was recorded for Paramount on December 28, 1928. An official of the company told Charles Edward Smith that Ma's down-home material had gone out of fashion. But be that it may, Gertrude Rainey did not enter a recording studio after the two duets with Papa Charlie Jackson already mentioned. She continued to work for some time after this, but on the death of her sister, Melissa, in 1935, and the death of her mother a few months later, she returned to the home she had built for her family from her earnings, and her later years were spent running two theaters she had acquired in Columbus and Rome, Georgia, the Lyric and Air Drum. She also joined the Congregation of Friendship Baptist Church, of which her brother, Thomas Pritchett Jr., was a deacon. She died in 1939 and is buried in the family plot in Porterdale Cemetery, Columbus, Georgia. Her death came just when collectors and critics were beginning to appreciate her. Unlike Bessie Smith, she never became popular in the North, where her work was almost unknown, until her records began to filter into the big cities such as Chicago. But in the South, she was loved and respected by her own folk, and her influence on on other singers was considerable, until Bessie Smith became the universal symbol of classic blues. Ma Rainey reigned supreme. There is little need to recount the life story of Bessie Smith. It has been told numberless times and must be familiar to most blues lovers. Paul Oliver's book on her gave all the authenticated details. Therefore, it is only necessary to concentrate on a few important incidents in her career. Let me have a drink of water. I'm just being myself. That's all you can be, right? You okay, Tony?
Yeah.
Everybody out there in Facebook Live audience, you okay too? All right. Bessie was born on April 15, 1898 at Chattanooga, Tennessee, of poor parents, and when she was very young, she showed a great talent for the stage. Appearing frequently in school plays, even in those early school days, she had a fine voice, and when she was only 9, she made her professional debut at the Ivory Theater in her hometown. Opinions differ as to just when and precisely where her meetings with Gertrude Ma Rainey took place. Charles Edward Smith tells us it was when Rainey was working with the Tolliver Circus, and Tincho, Paul Oliver states it was when Ma Rainey was with the Rabbitfoot Minstrels. To the historian, the must be frustrating, but for our purpose, it is sufficient that they did meet. We can only guess at the date, but it must have been between 1913 and 16. Her status with the company was small. Madame Rainey was the star of the show. Paul Oliver has given a brief description of her act. During the course of the next few years, Bessie Smith was well featured in the Rabbitfoot show as a child singer in short skirts, and she improved all the while. It has often been said that Ma was Bessie's teacher, but this statement should be regarded with caution. Blues singers are born, not taught. They learn the art of presentation and showmanship by hard work and graduate experience. Moreover, Ma Rainey was a proud woman, proud of being a blues queen. It is conceivable that she would train a girl so talented, and far more likely that she would look upon her as a potential rival. That being said, we can look at Bessie in a less romantic light. It is quite obvious that Bessie was very much influenced by what she heard. It is apparent that in all her early recordings, and this great influence never left her, the debt she owed is plain. After all, a sensitive young girl learning her job is bound to be impressed with such an artist, and the admiration she held for her was to remain for the rest of her too short life. Perhaps the true importance of Gertrude Rainey was not the impact of her record on a section of the public, but the fact that Bessie Smith met and worked with her. As the years went by, Bessie began to blossom, and from her first record, made on February 16, 1923, Downhearted Blues and Gulf Coast Blues, it was apparent that here was a new star. Rough and down to earth, this woman seems as if she was out to prove to herself and everyone that she was going to be greatest of all singers. From all accounts, her personality was aggressive, and this quality can be heard in her singing. She was a complex person, and on the one had generous to a fault when she had the money, on the other mean and unkind to other artists. She was childlike on occasion, but she could be extremely sharp and alert if she thought she had been wronged. Let's sing, you want to do the Have Pity on Me. This is one of Bessie's songs she recorded. This song was recorded in 1929. Have Pity on Me. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say out?
Yeah, you want to take that off?
We're going to change songs. We'll do that on the next one. I want to do another song. This one is from out of, I know it's nothing to do with Bessie Smith. This one is Alberta Hunter. and she was also noted as one of great classic blues singers. And this song is about, well, of course, we know about dealing with racism and sexism, but you know, when you really, really, you know, you love people, you respect people, and you have fun with people, you don't discriminate, and you don't mistreat people. You do your best, have fun with each other in different kinds of ways. So I'm going to do this one. Is called from Alberta Hunter. You Can't Tell the Difference After Dark. Look at what the sun has done to me. There is no more fun to me. Why must all the boys feel so shy? I know the reason why. I may be brown as a berry, but that's only secondary. You can't tell the difference after dark. I may not be so appealing, but I got that certain feeling. You can't tell the difference after dark. They say that gentlemen prefer the blonde-haired ladies. Tell me, am I out of style? Just because I'm slightly shady. Wait until I've won you, and my love comes down upon you. You can't tell the difference after dark. Take it away now, Tony. Hey! Bessie, don't get mad at me, because I picked this one over the other, but that's okay. I'm gonna fix it, okay? From the top. Look at what the sun has done to me. There is no more fun to me. Why must all the boys be so shy? I think that I know the reason why. I may be brown as a berry, but that's only secondary. You can't tell the difference after dark. I may not be so appealing, but I got that certain feeling. You can't tell the difference after dark. They say that gentlemen like those blonde-haired, long-gray ladies. Tell me, am I out of style? Just because I'm slightly shady. wait until I got you, and my love comes down on you. You can't tell the difference. I said you can't tell the difference. I said you can't tell the difference after dark. Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Alicia, do we have a tip jar? No?
You have, well, somebody has already donated.
Wow! Thank you. Thank you so
Josh-
much.
Josh Canto.
Oh, Josh.
Josh.
Hi, Josh. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting us. Alrighty. And everyone else who contributes. Because this information is valuable, even though it's, you know, it's from them, but there's many stories about this, and we all know we know the truth. We know from talking with other entertainers and them telling stories, and you know, it's a lot of information to do research and everything. And I'm nervous with this, so if I talk crazy, it's okay. Back to Bessie Smith. I apologize to Bessie. I don't think she meant, and I apologize to Alberta Hunter. I don't think she meant either, because I'm representing. We're representing, right? Right. At the peak of Bessie's career, she was a breathtaking performer, and she transformed what we now call classic blues into a fresh and intriguing vocal expression. Her achievement was, I believe, unconscious. With her natural genius, she took the vaudeville style of singing, the country blues form, and certain jazz elements, and these she molded into a perfect whole. The result was a completely original art form, quite apart from this amazing feat. Her singing was very subtle, and underneath the superficial excitement of that magnificent, rich contralto, there was subtlety of timing and phrasing that the casual listener could easily miss. She used her vocal resources to the full. Her voice was an instrument, and she gave fresh value to almost every note she sang, bending it to her will. At times she would glide down on her top notes, dropping them down an octave. Everybody can't do that. Her suspension and timing was amazing, and her habit of dragging over a word or a syllable into the next bar was copied by many others. The late Billie Holiday had admitted that Bessie Smith was one of her greatest influences. It was her phrasing that inspired Billie, and which she used and altered as a basis for her style. Bessie's repertoire was extensive, but in her early and middle years, she concentrated on blues. She sang of privation, of bad luck, and bad women, of good men. Her song Backwater Blues was a classic and has been recorded countless times by singers, both male and female. The glorious Hot Spring Blues with Joe Smith's beautiful cornet is one of the many gems of her recorded career. Like Ma Rainey, she used some of the best jazz musicians of the era. It would be true to say that nearly every musician of quality was on her session from 1923 to her final date in 1923. On the Columbia 4 volume set, much of her great work is included. Volume 1 is devoted to titles she made with Louis Armstrong. The January 24, 1925 session was a superb example of classic blues. Louis and Fred Longshaw on piano and organ played with great understanding. St. Louis Blues, You've Been a Good Old Wagon, and Cold in Hand are perhaps the best of a wonderful batch. I like those songs. Let's see, St. Louis Blues, You've Been a Good Old Wagon, and Cold in Hand. I wonder what that Cold in Hand was about. Audience, what do you think that's about, Cold in Hand? Now remember, double entendre, you think about that. Blues singers, blues singers can go there, right? Because you could sing raunch. And Bessie Smith was one of the great singers that could sing raunch. And me too. I could name a few other songs that Bessie Smith recorded, like Sugar in My Bowl, Kitchen Man, Downhearted Blues. What's the other ones? There's many others. Bessie's repertoire was extensive, but in her early and middle years, she concentrated on blues, and she sang with Privation, and I read that part. Let's see, the Glorious Hot Spring Blues with Joe Smith, Beautiful Cornet is one of many gems of her recorded career, and like Rainey, she used some of the best musicians. Let's see here. She said that on January 24th, 1925, the session was a superb example of classic blues. Fred Longshaw on piano and organ, and played with great understanding. St. Louis Blues, You've Been a Good Old Wagon, and Coat in Hand are perhaps the best of the wonderful batch. On May 26, 27 in the same year, with Charlie Green's trombone, added 4 more blues of outstanding quality, recorded Careless Love, that's another good one, and Nashville Woman Blues, and I Ain't Gonna Play No Second Fiddle, and J.C. Holmes Blues. It would be quite impossible to choose a single number from this group of songs. All are beautifully integrated in performances, and Armstrong and Green give ideal support. And the same high praise can be given to almost every title on the 4 albums. But I have only room to mention a few of these musical gems. Oh yeah, another one, Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. You play that one, Tony.
Which one?
Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out.
I don't know that one.
We're going to learn next time. This is surely too well known to warrant more than a mention. It is sufficient to say that this is the best performance of this very good song of poverty. With popular songs from the vaudeville stage or minstrel shows, Bessie was superb, transforming them into blues. And the examples can be heard on Volume 3, Cakewalking, Babies, A Ragtime Song, and Baby Doll. Oh yeah, I want to be somebody's baby doll. I want to get my loving all the time. I sing that song. You got a lot of songs you got to learn, Tony. Direct from the music hall are beautiful performances, and they become fresh compositions when Bessie interprets them. Here can be detected the merging of all the influences of which had been written. Then she had the two numbers on Volume 2 have tragic implications, for they tell a real life story of me and my gin and Gin House Blues. Oh, she was a gin drinker, yeah. Let me see. Did I show you all the picture? A picture of young Bessie Smith. She's pretty. I love me some Bessie. It's like when I first started hearing her, I portrayed Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey in a play called it was originally in the House of the Blues, and the name changed to Untitled Blues, Kumba Theater, 1984, 5, and 6. I was portraying both characters in the House of the Blues, and I learned so much about classic blues singers, Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey, and how important and valuable the blues are to us. That's another picture. And here's a timeline of recordings. And then there's another picture of Bessie. They look like blues singers too, don't they? They look like they could be hell raisers, you know? what I'm saying? Hell raisers. Yeah. So, what we could do, here's another picture of Bessie. Oops, Bessie Smith, yes. Yes. So what I'm going to do is, because I know we don't have a lot of time, do we?
Yeah, about 10 minutes.
We have about 10 minutes, okay. Well, let's go ahead on and sing, play Wild About That Thing. Actually, okay, let me read this first. Okay, so I left off with about the gin, me and my gin and gin house blues. These are both grim blues on the subject of alcohol. And by this time, Bessie was drinking heavily. The pace at which she was living and the tensions of trying to keep on the top of the pile were in the the cause. Nevertheless, she was still singing superbly, but the constant fear of slipping and the frantic life she was leading were taking their toll on her. The voice still was marvelous and was taking on a coarse quality, and she was trying desperately to widen her appeal. With this in mind, she broadened her material, and such risque double entendre songs as Kitchen Man, You Got to Give Me Some, and I'm Wild About That Thing were recorded. I'm wild about that thing. Ready, Tony? Honey, baby, won't you cuddle near? Let sweet mama whisper in your ear. I'm wild about that thing. I'm wild about that thing. Easy lover, I'm wild about that thing. Do it easy, honey. Don't get rough. From you, Papa, I can't get enough, because I'm wild about that thing. Sweet joy you'll always bring. I love the way you kiss me. I'm wild about that thing. Come on, baby, turn your lamp down low. When you say you're ready, I say let's go. I'm wild about that thing. Judda jing, jing, jing. I can't help myself, babe. I'm wild about that thing. Play it now. Help me now, put the hands together. With a smile on your face. You still got some wildness in you too, don't you? I know you do. I can tell. I pick up that kind of energy. I really do. Hey! Look at Tony. Listen to him. I like the way he moves. Oh, look at those hands. You know I can go there now. You know I can go there. Yes, I can. Come on, baby. Turn your left down low. When you say it, I say, you ready? I say, hey, I'm ready to go. Come on. I'm wild about that thing. Oh, sweet joy you always bring. You's a easy lover. I'm wild about that thing. I'm wild about that thing. Help me. I'm wild about that thing. You sing it. Oh yeah. I'm wild about that thing. I can't help myself. I'm wild about that thing. I'm wild. What you wild about? What you Having fun. All right. Tony Milano, show some love. Me, I'm Katherine Davis. All right. As good as these performers were, time was running out. It was running out for Bessie Smith. And like other artists, she faded into obscurity with the Depression of 1930. In 1933, John Hammond brought her back into the studio with a hand-picked band of star musicians, including Benny Goodman, Jack Teagarden, Frankie Newton, Chu Berry, and Buck Washington. A mixture of styles, but it worked. Newton on trumpet and Teagarden on trombone are the men most in sympathy with Bessie, and they carry her along with ease. These 4 titles on Volume 1 of the Columbia set were as good as anything she had ever recorded. Take Me for a Buggy Ride, Give Me a Pig Foot, or a Bottle of Beer, Do Your Duty, and I'm Down in the Dumps proved that she was still a vital force. The future looked bright, and she had another session lined up. Alas, it was not to be. On Sunday morning, September 26, 1937, while speeding down the highway near Coahoma, Mississippi, in her car, she crashed into the back of a lorry. Bessie was terribly mutilated, one arm almost torn from her body. There had been a great deal written about what happened after the crash, and many conflicting stories told. Some say she bled to death on the sidewalk as no hospital would take her in because of her color. Another version is that she died from exposure in a hospital waiting room while awaiting attention. Yet another says that while a passing doctor was trying to lift this heavy woman onto his car, his vehicle was struck by an oncoming traffic and completely wrecked. An ambulance arrived and took her to the Negro ward of the nearest hospital, the G.T. Thomas Hospital at Clarksdale. There she died of her injuries around midday, and this is probably the true version. So, all these blues queens were larger than life. Most of them carried the regal myth into their everyday lives. Their fans were their subjects. The musicians and the managers were their cabinet ministers. And there to pander to their will, and surprisingly enough, they did just that. Thus, for part of the time, they also lived in a world of their own, a world of fantasy and daydream. So this is just a little bit of recognizing these great blues pioneers, women blues singers, who paved the way for us, all the singers of today, all of them singing no matter what styles of music, paved the way. They paved the way for all of us. And I want to keep their names alive. I want to keep their legacy alive. There's many more. I didn't mention my mother. My mother was a great singer too, but my mother didn't sing in front of audiences. She sang to her children. And from there, I carry her voice. So when I want to sing, when I do sing, and I want to hear like, I want to sing like someone, my mother's voice was the first voice that I heard. And so when I'm singing, I'm trying to sing like my mother. And I think my mother had one of the most beautiful voices as well, keeping her legacy alive. And so hopefully we'll be able to continue this, reading stories out of books. From out of my library, I got some valuable books that I don't think everybody know about. And I just want to share some of this valuable information, whether it be most of it is true or some of it is not true or whatever. You do research too yourself, and let's get together and some way talk about it and share our information with each other but keep the women alive. Keep the classic blues women alive. Keep the blues singers that today. Keep them alive because they're valuable. You know, we travel. We have a legacy too. We traveled many places around the world. We perform with big names around the world. We're recording artists. We've done a lot of great things. We've contributed our voices to many types of projects of out here doing outreach work for different causes, for big causes, for the homeless, for the sick, you know, for the lost, for the ones who need, for someone who was getting ready to end their life and they heard some blues playing and they changed their minds because they thought that what they was going through was they were the only ones that was going through something, and then they hear these blues songs sung by singers and they find that they're not alone. So they change their mind. They don't want to end their lives. They want to keep living because they want to keep hearing stories about these blues stories. So, and then we could go on and on and on. I just want to say thank you so much to my listening audience out there. Big round of applause for Tony Milano. My name is Katherine Davis. We're here at the New Rhythms Arts Center, and please support us and the center because Alicia has a lot of great programs going on here, and she could use your support. We all could use your support, and we will make an announcement on when we're coming back and do this for you. Thank you so much. Peace and love, everybody. Have a beautiful Sunday evening.